Good evening, everybody. This is Lance Wood, the Science and Operations Officer here at the National Weather Service, Houston Galveston office. We're going to talk some more about Tropical Storm Nicholas based on the 10 p.m. advisory we just got from the Hurricane Center. We'll talk about a few changes. Starting with the shift in the forecast track is back to the right, to the east, and you'll see that when I show you the track. It's actually about 50 miles east on the landfall point. And because of this, we've moved the hurricane watch a little bit up the coast to Freeport, and the tropical storm warnings now extend to High Island. So you can pretty quickly see in satellite imagery here that unfortunately Nicholas isn't really that well organized, and that's making it a little bit tricky to have a stable forecast track. Basically what's been happening is we've had some center reformations, and it looks like that occurred again this evening where the center formed a little bit further to the south. And I know that was actually happening earlier in the day where it was forming to the north. And it's possible that we'll see a reformation overnight back to the north. So in general, the system is still moving northward, but because the center is reforming, it's kind of playing a little bit havoc on the short-term motion. But it's still pretty broad. There's no real consolidated center. Aircraft reconnaissance has been in there this evening, and they've kind of verified that. So overall, the picture is kind of the same, but some of the details are hard to nail down because of that. So again, taking a look at this latest advisory, you'll see really no change in the intensity forecast. Still forecast to be a tropical storm, a peak of about 65 miles per hour. So that's still a pretty strong tropical storm, and that's why the hurricane watch is up there, just in case Nicholas were to get its act together tomorrow and tomorrow evening as it approaches the coast. I mean, it's good news in some ways that Nicholas is disorganized because we don't have a strengthening storm at the moment. So the intensity has stayed about the same as the center's been reforming. So it's a weak tropical storm right now, and it's broad. But the forecast track has shifted right. That follows a lot of our model guidance that just ran. And some of the guidance is even a little bit further to the right than this track. But the specialist, is going to be a little bit careful with adjusting too much because we could see the track adjust back a little bit to the left, in future advisories. So we'll just keep it here for now and take a look at it. So this is probably a little bit of good news also because it's a little bit faster track, especially on Wednesday going into Thursday, than what you saw this afternoon. So those are really the changes that's happened, and we'll see if the eastward track holds up here on the next advisory. So I thought I'd just talk about the current radar view because we really haven't seen much rain, right? But we do have a lot of rain just off the coast, and this kind of outer rain band, it's not all that well organized yet, but it's pretty widespread. We'll come in here soon, and I think we'll start to see some locally heavy rainfall here after midnight going into Monday morning across the coastal areas. So the tropical storm wind probabilities and the most likely time of their arrival, you'll notice that it's slightly slower on the time of arrival, and the axis of the higher probabilities are pretty close to that new track shift that we had a little further east. So that's one of the reasons why we went on and put up the tropical storm warning up the coast now all the way to High Island. We don't extend it very far inland at the moment. We do have coastal Harris in the tropical storm warning, and Liberty, I believe, and Chambers now, and Galveston, of course, but not far inland Harris yet. And we just don't really have the confidence yet to put the far inland areas yet in a tropical storm warning, but they remain in a tropical storm watch. And this time of arrival, like I said, it's a little bit slower. It's more Monday evening into Matagorda Bay as far as those arrival times, and then it's actually kind of late Monday night now and almost towards Tuesday morning for Galveston Bay. And again, that's somewhat due to that center reformation. So there's some uncertainty. This could speed up again a little bit. So don't get too locked in on an exact time frame here, but it does give you a window right now for our best estimate. So also some good news at the 50 knot probability, that's more your damaging type tropical storm force winds on the higher end. Those are likely to be limited to just the coastal counties, and they're fairly low probability when you look at a point probability. So as long as Nicholas doesn't strengthen any more than forecast, this looks pretty good. Those higher type wind speeds would be probably where the landfall occurs, and just to the east and just right along the coast, given these lower probabilities right now. But we need to watch these trends, because any forecast increase in intensity, these would bump up here. So we'll have to watch Nicholas tomorrow pretty closely if it can start getting its act together before it reaches the coast. Storm surge watch and warning, really not any change here for our area. We still have the storm surge warning, up the coast to about San Luis Pass, but not into Galveston Bay. Still a watch there. The watch did go a little bit further east over into Southwest Louisiana just because of that track shift to the east, but still seeing the 3 to 5 in our sort of lower coastal areas, and 2 to 4 in the upper coast as far as inundation possibilities. So we've been showing these. This is one of our storm surge models where we can actually look at a point. So, and this is relative to mean low or low water. So it's not exactly inundation here, but a lot of people are comfortable with these levels. So for Galveston, I think there the most significant water levels are going to occur more, beginning Monday evening and going overnight at that high tide that happens. And it's possible we could be on the upper end of this ensemble, depending on kind of where Nicholas ends up making landfall along the coast. So kind of be thinking of the possibility of 4 to 5 feet here above mean low or low water. A lot of the night there on Monday night and going into Tuesday morning, that'll probably be our most problematic time as Nicholas approaches the coast and moves inland. And then Freeport, slightly higher, probably going to be closer to the landfall point is what it's looking like, but not really significantly different. Just it has a higher chance of getting a little bit higher values, I think, given the track that we've got. So again, got kind of 4 to 5 feet. Sort of a worser case scenario might be a little over 5 feet, and that's partly why the surge warning is down the coast. So this is the same graphic that we had out earlier. We haven't had time to make any adjustments. Based on the new track, we may be lowering the amounts just a little bit. So we may see more of this 10 to 15 along the coast than 15 to 20, and we may knock down some of the very far inland numbers here just a little bit. I mean, we have to be on guard again for, this track isn't quite stable yet, but the trends are in our favor to maybe with a little bit faster motion, a little bit further east track, that these could come down just a little bit. But don't get too fixated on these exact numbers with this kind of still in flux. Still a lot of rainfall. I mean, we're still, even if we knock these down a little bit in the coastal counties, we're still going to be in the 10 to 15 inch range, which is still significant. So I thought I'd break this up just a little bit temporally so you can kind of see how the rainfall pattern may change through our at least the beginning of our event here. So for tomorrow and tomorrow night, heavy rain again, like we've talked about, significant values in the coastal counties and the first inland tier there up into the Houston area. The heaviest rain is probably going to be a little bit southwest of Galveston, down in Brazoria, Matagorda, maybe coastal Jackson, where you could see sort of widespread 48 inches. And again, where it trains a little bit, it could be a little bit higher than that. And as we go into Tuesday and Tuesday night, this might be our most significant flash flood time frame, because we're going to add to those totals that we just talked about, and we see an expansion of the higher rainfall totals and a little bit more rain in that period as you go on the upper coast. So 6 to 10 inches, sort of southern part of Harris County, Brazoria, Galveston, Chambers, and that whole area. So that's probably going to be the worst of it for the upper coast, and it'll be transitioning from the lower coast, some of that heavy rain, up to the upper coast from Monday to Tuesday. So I also wanted to show you, since we're approaching this heavy rain coming on shore, we have this high resolution ensemble model that we can take a look at some of the details of the precipitation forecast. So in the short term, this is a really good tool for the next 12 hours. So kind of for those early morning hours, you can see we start to develop some 0.5 to 1.5 inch totals in pockets, maybe a little bit more than that down there around Matagorda Bay here tonight. And then as we get into Monday morning, see a lot of widespread rain, and we'll see some pockets of heavier rain, and probably widespread 1 to 2 inches as we get into early afternoon. And again, some isolated higher amounts. The heaviest rain is probably still offshore, though. As I showed you, it's really going to increase later as we get probably towards Monday night and Tuesday. But this is how it's going to begin, it looks like, later tonight and going in to Monday for some of the amounts that, if you kind of want to look at some 6-hour amounts here in the short term. So the excessive rainfall is going to mirror kind of what I already showed you. We do have a slight risk here just to finish off the night tonight, mainly for the early morning heavy rainfall that will be occurring along the coast as that initial heavy rain starts to move inland. And then again, as we move into our day 2 period tomorrow night, we start to get more serious rainfall, especially down southwest of Galveston, into Galveston maybe, but especially Matagorda Bay, maybe even southern Ward and southern Fort Bend. This will be a period where you can really start to pick up the rainfall, and it's going to increase, I think, as you get into Monday night compared to what actually falls on Monday. And then probably our most dangerous period for most of the area is that Tuesday night period. We're going to have Nicholas coming on shore there, probably early Tuesday. It could be late Monday, depends on where the landfall point is. And we're just going to have continued, heavy rainfall as Nicholas progresses kind of slowly there across to the north and northeast. So this Tuesday night period is probably where we have the biggest risk. And you got to also remember, we've already had rainfall Monday and Monday night that has saturated the ground. So that's why it's a fairly large area there of moderate risk, which is, could be numerous flash flood type events, and it also could be significant. So some key takeaways. Again, we talked about the significant flash flood threat for a couple of days, especially for the coastal counties, first inland tier of counties. Still somewhat, dependent on the track, but it would take quite a change to take those coastal counties out of this threat. So we feel pretty comfortable with that. Tropical storm warning there now all along the southeast Texas coast. Hurricane watched from Matagorda Bay to Freeport. And again, that's kind of precautionary. Most of our guidance keeps Nicholas a tropical storm, almost all of it at this point. But, you have to be a little bit careful because things can happen fast here in the northern Gulf, as we've seen before. So that's why the watch is out there, just in case Nicholas intensifies tomorrow and tomorrow night as it approaches the coast. And then the high tides, again, we kind of went over that. They're really going to increase here Monday afternoon, going into the Monday night and Tuesday morning periods. We should see coastal flooding around times of high tides, and that's why we have the storm surge watch and warning. And this didn't change. Our rivers concerns are still the same. San Jacinto, Harris County Bayou, San Bernard, La Vaca Navidad, and some of the tributaries as well, these mainstream rivers. So still have high confidence in heavy rainfall and the flash flood threat there across the coastal counties and the first inland tier of counties. I think further inland you get, the confidence is a little bit lower for impacts due to being kind of dependent more on the track, especially for the tropical storm force winds. So we have a watch out for a fairly large area because of potential track changes, but for tropical storm force winds, we're a lot more confident in the tropical storm warning area, which is closer to the coast.